What's up, nerds? So, just real quick, I finished Agatha All Along, the 2 episodes that were left. I know I'm late to the game, but it ended, and then the next day was Halloween, and I've got 2 kids, so I couldn't get to this right off the bat. I'm getting to it now. If you watch this all the way through, great. If not, it's fine. It's whatever. So, I want to say, in terms of the show overall, and I'll say this probably at the end also, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like a must-watch TV kind of situation with this show. Like, the ending for me was not as like, the last episode and the result of the show was not that great for me. It's comic books accurate, and I'll talk about that, when we talk about the finale, the last episode, but I'm just like, "Eh," and what's going forward after this, like, what's gonna happen after this, I'm just like, "Eh, okay, whatever." But overall, the show was better than WandaVision because I felt like Jack Schaefer, she led us down, like, paths that there was no outlet, I'm just like, "Okay, this was weird," And, like, you got the actors lying about certain things, and then, like, you had the theories, the fan theories, which were on us as fans, making up stuff like Mephisto would show up and everything. But at the same time, they planted those seeds and they went nowhere. And I'm all like, okay, but this one, I think that Jack Schaefer learned her lesson. And if she planted a seed, there was, a destination for that journey. So, and then there was one other thing about this that I did not like, and I'll get to that when we get there. But all right, I'm going to break down episode 8, and then we'll go on to 9 after that. But I'll do it like normally. But all right, yeah. All right, here we go. Here's the breakdown. So Agatha, she like agrees to give Billy to Rio, aka Lady Death, who views him as an abomination for gaining a second life. So Billy transported, which by the way, this is not in the comic books. Billy cannot body hop like he does. I was like, this is not a thing in the comic books. But so she, feels like Billy should have died. And then that one kid died, which I just go, where did Billy, what's his face's soul go? I'm all like, is there 2 souls in this body now? But she feels she was cheated a body. And so she's like, you need to bring Billy. He needs to turn himself in. And I was like, that's interesting. But I was like, they're not going to do that. I'm like, they're not going to get rid of Wiccan in this show. So I was like, you're right there. I was like, your story's already not tracking, honey. But, Agatha agrees to it. So Billy and Jen rejoin Agatha at the end of the road, only to find out that it goes in a circle. So they're walking on this little path and they come across their shoes. And Billy's all like, it's just a circle and everything. And I thought, that was interesting because then they were like, we have to go through the trials again. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. And I did. And then Billy's all like, just like, fuck this noise. I'm doing this and everything. So then Billy puts on his shoes. And the 3 of them are then transported to a version of Agatha's like basement, but it looks like, a morgue at the beginning. And the lights on the ceiling, they slowly go out because that's their timer in this test. So they're in this thing. They're in the body bags or whatever. It was like a morgue kind of thing. And then they've got the hospital gowns on. And this trial was a little bit different. I thought it was, not bad, not, or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm just like, personally for me, I was just like, I want to be done with this witch's road. You know what I'm saying? Which they did get to it eventually. Because then Jen learns that Agatha was the witch who bound her and performs this unbinding spell. And she regains her abilities and disappears. And then having got what she had needed from the road, she goes back to, her life, or whatnot. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. And this goes back to, I'll talk about it when we get to the end of this, but it just goes back to, okay, Jen was the only one out of the coven besides Agatha and Wiccan that survived the road. And she gets her pink back. But when she does the binding spell, I was a little confused on this. Did Agatha do the binding spell just willy-nilly, or did the doctor know that Jen was a witch and then had Agatha do the binding spell for him. I was a little confused on that. Maybe that's because it's me, but I was a little confused on that. But I did like that how she pulled, got her hair and wrapped her, and she's like, you have no power over me, or some crap like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And you could see Agatha just like, she's playing it, cool and everything, and then all of a sudden she's like, her facial expression is just like breaking down. And I thought that was pretty good. And then of course she disappeared. And then later on, we see her climbing out of the ground, and she, lifts off like Wanda did at the end of WandaVision. And I'm just, and that's another thing. I'm like, can all witches do that? I'm like, it's fine. But I'm glad that Jen survived. I wish the other witches had survived too. But what are you gonna do? Agatha helps Billy locate Tommy's soul, and then Billy puts Tommy's soul into the body of a boy that is drowning. So I thought this part was interesting and at the same time a little weird, and I'll tell you why. Okay. So I liked that he found Tommy's soul or whatnot, and then they were searching for somewhere to put him, right? Because apparently, and I'm curious about this. Can Billy only then take souls and put them in other? Can he only do Tommy's soul, like his twin brother, or can he do other souls, aka Wanda? And I'm like, and it'd be weird if they didn't use, Elizabeth Olsen for that. I'd just be like, oh, geez, you guys. But anyways, but it wouldn't surprise me. Nothing Marvel does surprises me anymore. It's whatever I think is going to be bad, they'll probably do it. So the boy was drowning, and he said he's alone and he's got nobody. And I was like, that's really sad. And then, but he puts it in this boy that's drowning. And then one thing that I did like about this part right here, I thought it was the best line in the whole episode, was he says something along the lines of, am I letting this boy die so my brother can live? And I was like, that is so good. Like, is he choosing to let this random kid drown so that he can give his brother another chance at life? And I thought that was very, very good. I liked that a lot. I just want to say, as a twin, I would have totally done the same thing. I would have been like, fuck you, drowning kid. I want my brother back. But I thought that was really good. And it was the best line out of the episode. And probably the 2 episodes, it was the best line because I really liked it a lot. And so, yeah, so now, and we'll talk about that when we get down. But I'll talk about it now. Never mind. It leads to Children's Crusade. So in the comic books, Children's Crusade is Tommy and Billy, they meet each other, right? And they're like, hey, we look like each other and everything. And then they go on the Children's Crusade, which is them trying to find their mother, Wanda. But it's obvious that in the MCU, it's going to be Wiccan and Agatha, if you will, going to find Tommy. And that's going to be Children's Crusade. I may be wrong on this, but that's what I think is going forward. They're doing Children's Crusade, but instead of Tommy and Billy finding Wanda, it's Billy finding and Agatha finding Tommy. That's what I think is going to happen. And I do think that's an interesting, but at the same time, I didn't like Children's Crusade. I didn't like, the Witch's Road, like those comic books, but that's, neither here nor there, but, we'll see how they're going to change it up, but / keep the spirit of the comic books. So Billy then disappears after this, and Agatha, she grows a flower through a crack in the floor using a seed from her locket, where her son's hair was, which completes the trial. And as she escapes, she finds herself in her backyard in Westview, where Rio is awaiting her. So she pops out of those cellar doors, right? And Rio, which I love, Aubrey Plaza, she is sitting on the roof of the house, right? And she's laughing like a witch, like ha 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 ha, and everything, which I appreciated that also. She did it also in the episode with the brooms, which I'm like, that's really fun. I do appreciate it, right? And she's all like, you said you were going to give me the boy, right? And so her and Agatha start fighting. And she's like, I'm going to take you, kind of thing. And she's like, how about a death by 1,000 cuts? And, she breaks the windows and she's got all these cuts on her. I didn't think she looked that great. Catherine Hahn in this thing, she's all cut up and everything. But because she doesn't have any power, she can't fight back. And Rio is just knocking her around all over the place. And I thought that was fun / interesting. I just love Aubrey Plaza. She's so hot. So then Billy returns to aid her, right, on it, and he's got his whole Wiccan outfit. And then Agatha attempts to give Billy up to Rio, but he convinces her to give herself up instead. So when Wiccan shows up in all of his costume glory, I like how he landed, and she's like, "You look good," and he's like, "You don't." I was like, "Ooh, burn, Billy." You know, a lot of people are like complimenting on how he's just so witty, and I'm like, that's not really that witty, you guys. Like, stop it, okay? But I also just want to say again, I don't like Wiccan from the comic books, and I don't 100% care for him in this show. There's some stuff I like, but I never liked his outfit in the comic books, and I don't like it here either. I don't think it looks terrible. Like, I'm not all like, ugh. But at the same time, I just go, I still don't like it. You know, I can't like something just because you give him a new crown. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't like the WandaVision crown, the crown that Wanda has in the movie. So you know, I'm sorry. But he looked fine. But I did. So he shows up, right? And he gives Agatha some of it. He's like, don't take it all. And he starts blasting her, right? And she's feeling up. She's like, oh, I feel so good and everything. But she ends up cutting it off and everything, which makes me think, you know, she doesn't have to kill other riches. Like, she was like, I can't help it. And I'm like, you can't help it, Avi. So she does that. And then Rio's all, she's like, you can have the kid. It's fine. Take him and everything. He's like, what? And then he mentally talks to her through his mind, which I'm all like, you, so he can't just read mine. He's got like, you know, telepathy, like he can push his voice into other people's minds. And I'm just like, they are just giving Wiccan every single fucking power under the sun. I'm all like, this is ridiculous. You know, I'm like, how many characters in the MCU are we going to have that just have endless power? Like, it's ridiculous. And he tells her, he's like, is this how your son died? And that goes into the next episode, and I'll probably bring it up again, but it really touched at the heartstrings of Agatha. And so then she decides to give herself up instead. And so Agatha, she kisses Rio and dies. And Rio then allows Billy to leave, and he then returns home. So Agatha, if you remember in episode 1, she can't take Rio's powers like any other witch because it'll kill her. And that's because she's Lady Death. Which I'm like, I don't like the fact that the green, like, are there other green witches? Because I would like to see those. But she takes her power, and when she kisses her, and she dies. Okay, and then I love how when she died and fell on the ground, it immediately did that time lapse thing that you see. You know, people will record a decaying body, and it does that like that, and up grows flowers and like mushrooms and stuff. I thought that the flower coloration was interesting because I think it was the same colors as the two witches, Lilia and Alice, who had died on the road. So I was just curious. I was curious if that had anything to play in it. I don't know. I'm just saying. But I did like that she had like a little flower patch in her thing to remember her by. And so then Billy, he leaves. And they kind of tried to do this thing where he like left, and it kind of looked like the way Wanda left. But he gets in his car and he drives away, and he goes home, and his parents are like, you've been gone for 24 hours. And I'm all like, wow, it seemed like so much longer, you know? But so yeah, and he goes home. So upon entering his bedroom, he realizes through many objects in his bedroom that match a lot of the different aspects of the road. And he hears Agatha laughing and turns around and hears like a boo or whatnot and gets frightened. So when he's going through his room, he notices the Wicked Witch, and he notices like a tree on his thing. I don't know what that tree is from or if it's anything. And he keeps seeing these, like, he's like, the road is exactly how I imagined. And we find out later, and I'll just say it now because we find out in the next episode, and I'll mention it again in just a little bit, but we find out he created the Witch's Road. Like, he's going through this, and he realizes that he, like his mother, because Agatha says that you're just like your mother, that he created the road, and he created this whole little world that they all were in. Like Wanda created Westview in WandaVision. And I did think this was clever, but I didn't like it. And we'll talk about the road in just in another second when we get to episode 8. And this is how the episode ended. And he turns around and hears Agatha go boo, which we find out what that is, which I again didn't like that also, but it is comic book accurate. But I was kind of annoyed a little bit that Billy created the road and it wasn't a real thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's fine, but at the same time, I'm kind of like annoyed about it. And that was episode 8. So let's hop over to episode 9, which I just want to say, I did not like this finale. I thought it was very underwhelming. I thought that they could have done a better job. I thought that, and I'm only saying this in terms of like out of all the episodes, this was probably my second to my set my it wasn't my least favorite. It was my second least favorite, just because it was kind of, like I said, underwhelming in terms of finales. Like I feel like your finale should be really top notch out of all the whole season, and this one just wasn't for me personally. So in 1750, Agatha gives birth to Nicholas, but is visited and warned by Death that she will eventually take him. Now, I thought this part was really interesting because Agatha, she's going through the woods, right? And I love how she cut a lemon, like as she was standing there, and she like bit half of it and everything. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how accurate that is. And she's giving birth, but Rio shows up. She's got her little green cloak on, and Agatha's like, no, please don't. And she's like, lover, please. And Rio, you can see the look on her face because she's like, you can't cheat death, honey. That's just not how it works. But she's like, the only thing I can give you is time. So he's going on borrowed time. And I thought that was interesting because that is how life is sometimes. Some people, they're just living on borrowed time. And that's how Nicholas was, because Agatha pleaded to Lady Death. And she's like, how long do I have? But she doesn't get a chance to answer it because she leaves. And I was like, that's interesting. I do like that and everything. And she gives birth to Nicholas. And he's quite a big baby, in my opinion. But cute. I love babies. As soon as I see one on screen, I'm like, I want another baby. But yeah, so there's that. So Agatha then spends the next 6 years absorbing other witches' essence while raising Nicholas. So during this whole thing, Nicholas is in one scene, he steals like this bell and he gets these witches to follow him into this cabin where Agatha, his mother, absorbs these 3 witches' powers. And she does the same thing after Nicholas is born. She goes into this witches like circle or whatever, and then everything. And they attend, they're like, we let you in and everything. And that's Agatha's thing. She constantly has to be fed, which I'm all like, does she? And that's another thing that I don't think they really explained well in this show. Does she have to get these powers from these other witches? Or is she doing it because she wants to? Because she tried to be all like, I can't help it. But we learned from Wiccan that she can stop it whenever she wants. She just chose not to. And maybe it was her, living through that experience of the Witch's Road that she realized maybe I can, control it. A little too late, though. But together, her and Nicholas, they create what will eventually become the Ballad of the Witch's Road, this simple children's song. So through this episode, Agatha and Nicholas, they're singing, and they start off with down, down, down the windy road, but it turns into Witch's Road. And they create this song and everything, which turns into a little bit of a con, because eventually Nicholas grows sick, right? And death comes and takes him. And this saddens Agatha like hardcore. And I thought this part was interesting because they fall asleep, and she says something like, she's coming for you. And he's like, who's coming for you? And she's like, she's like, go to sleep and everything. And then Lady Death comes while Agatha is sleeping. And I thought that was really sad because Agatha didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I thought Death was cruel for that. I thought that was really cruel that she didn't give Agatha a chance to say to her son goodbye or whatnot, and maybe ask for forgiveness for the things that she did, because at that point, she was kind of, Nicholas, he was using that Witch's Road song and singing it in public, and he was kind of enticing these other witches. And Agatha was going along with it, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore, Mom. I don't want to lure these women to their deaths. And I think that Agatha could see the toll it was taking on her 6-year-old or 8-year-old, whatever, however old he was. He seemed a lot older for 6. I mean, I have a 6-year-old, and he didn't talk like that kid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like he talks normal, but he's all like, that kid was very like, I don't know. Maybe it's just whatever. But with nothing holding her back, right? She spends the next couple of centuries absorbing other witches' magic by tricking them into gathering into covens to open the Witch's Road, then aggravating them into attacking her when they can't. So it was really interesting that Agatha, she found that one witch, and she's all like, the Witch's Road and everything, and she's like, we need to get a coven. And I did like this montage. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very cool how, I didn't think it was cool, but I did like how it was cool that they showed her changing throughout the years, I liked the little punk rock look or whatnot. And I liked her 20s look. And was it 20s? I just liked the montage of it. But again, it just goes back to here Agatha is, something that was created by her son that she was using to lure these women to their death just to feed her own power. And I thought that was interesting and sad at the same time. But in the present, Agatha, now a ghost, tells Billy that he created the road, and he gets totally bummed out about this and blames himself for the death of Lilia, Alice, and Sharon. But Agatha then tells him that she was going to kill them anyway, and that he did rescue Jen. So in this thing, right? Because like I said before, when that boy died, the drowning boy, to get Tommy's soul into it, he was like, am I killing this boy to save my brother? And then he says in this one, he says, did I kill these women? And the answer is yes. Yes, he did. But Agatha tries to, console him by saying, like, listen, if they hadn't gone on the Witch's Road, I was going to get them to attack me, and I was going to take their power because she needed her purple back. But she gives him like a silver lining and was like, well, Jen got out. She got her powers back and she survived, which I was like, that doesn't make it okay. And I can't remember if she says it, but they both were killers. Wiccan wasn't, like he said before, I'm not that nice. And Agatha is definitely not nice. Now, I don't like how they made her a ghost, and she looked terrible. That dress looked fucking awful, and her white hair, it was kind of annoying. But this is comic book accurate. She does become a ghost in the comic books and in the Children's Crusade storyline. So I was like, well, at least they're keeping it to the comic books. I just didn't like it. Because I'm like, I just feel like now who else is going to come back as a ghost? It's just kind of annoying. But again, I didn't like that Billy created the road. I did like how, she had gone through the centuries of the door not opening. And when the door opened, she's like, wait, what? Like, she's all like, shit, the door is here, But it was like she realized right off the bat that Billy was just like his mom and created this world. Because she says she kept, and I loved how it makes sense now how she was the only one that survived the Witch's Road, and B, she kept looking for ways to get out because she's like, this is his little psychopath dream world. I need to find a way, like with Wanda, to like click it off kind of thing. So Billy then he returns to Agatha's house and tries to banish Agatha. And she reveals that she's afraid of dying and going to the beyond because she can't face Nicholas. And so Billy then allows Agatha to remain as a ghost. So I thought this also was interesting because he's just trying to do his little spell. And then she's like, I can't face him. And she was talking about Nicholas. And I thought this was interesting because I go, how would that go if she saw her son? Like, would he forgive her for everything that she did, using his song to lure these women to their death? Would he just be like, it's okay, you weren't a great mom in my opinion, but you did what you could, you tried your best, kind of thing. And it would have been, I don't know. That part of it just sounds interesting to me, but I understand why she didn't want to face her son, knowing that she had bastardized this children's song into death, you know? And I thought that was interesting. So Billy then he decides to take her on as a guide and closes the door to the road. And he creates like a shrine by, recording the names of Sharon, Alice, and Lilia in the basement, the stone basement. And then Billy and Agatha set out to find Tommy. So again, like I said before, and I'll say it again right now. So this is leading to Children's Crusade, but instead of finding Wanda, they're going to go find Tommy. Which again, I also like that, but at the same time, I did kind of want to see that dynamic of Billy and Tommy, as twins. But it'll be fine. We'll get there eventually, I think. But I don't really care for Ghost Wanda, Agatha. I'm not interested in that. But at the same time, that's what we got. I don't like her look. I don't like the long hair just like flowing all over wherever the fuck it is and everything. And her dress looks fucking terrible. And again, this finale was a little underwhelming. I didn't mind seeing the montage of her, stealing witches' powers, but I don't like the ghost part of it. And then they're just like, let's go find Tommy kind of thing. But yeah, going forward, I just think we're going to get like a road trip kind of thing, but through the Marvel universe to find his brother, which it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. Also, I don't know. I don't like the body swapping thing. It makes me wonder if we're going to get like a Wonder Woman 94 situation. But we'll see how and is Tommy younger than Billy? Because that little kid looked way younger than what Billy. He didn't look like a teenager to me. Maybe that's just me, but whatever. But those are my thoughts on this show. Again, the show is not bad. It's just, for me personally, it's just fine. Like at a 10, I'd say the show overall is like a 5 or a 6. Like I didn't hate it, and I'm not gonna shit talk it. But I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I'm not going to gush over it. You know what I'm saying? I think that Aubrey Plaza, fantastic. I love her. I think her as Lady Death was a great choice because it kind of reminded me of her on that X-Men show. What was that called? Legion. It kind of reminded me of that. And I think she's hot. So I'm totally cool with that. I think I do love Kathryn Hahn. I think she's a great actress. The kid that played Billy, I'm not 100% sold on him because this is the only thing I've seen him in, and he was fine, but he wasn't that great. Joel Locke. And then all the other actresses, they did a good job. I love Patti LuPone. The lady that that 70s mom or whatever. I liked her a lot. And then the other two were fine. They were good enough and everything. But that's my thoughts on this season, this series finale, because I don't think they're going to make another Agatha All Along show. That would be dumb. It's done kind of thing. But we'll see how this turns out going forward and what they're going to do. I don't know if it's going to be a show or a movie. I would think it's going to be a show. But let's see where we go from here. The show was, again, I didn't feel very Marvel-esque. It was more like a Hocus Pocus type show, very witchy poo, which is fine by me. But whatever. But tell me what you guys thought about this season for this finale. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite part? Did you like that Billy created the Witch's Road? Or are you like me and you didn't really care for it, but at the same time, you didn't hate it? But tell me all your thoughts. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.